Today, we are going to discuss something that I like to call digital direct manipulation in filmmaking. It is an animation technique that, well, looks something like this. Now, as you can see, it's a very sort of abstract design. It's highly repeated style, and I think it looks really cool. And to be honest, it doesn't really require a lot of technique or even drawing style. It's rather a simple technique, and it looks really cool. It looks fun. I like working with it. It is a technique that I created based on certain old techniques of film, and I'm here today to teach you how to do it if it's something that interests you, and I would love to see what other people come up with this. And today is going to be a little bit of it's going to be 3 parts. There's going to be kind of a history lesson. First part. Second part will be setting up your scene, mostly working with Adobe Photoshop, right down here. And then it will be making and animating what you've created. And that will be done in After Effects. Now, the only other thing that you will need, aside from a computer, Photoshop, and After Effects, is one of these. A drawing tablet of some sort. It doesn't even have to be very good. This is what I'm using. It is a Wacom tablet. It is an Intuos 3, I believe, which is a little bit of an older model now. I think they're up to 5, if I recall. And you can also, of course, if you have an unlimited budget, work with a Cintiq. This is around $2,000, so it's kind of outside my budget. But by all means, if you can do it, knock yourself out. Now, for those of you who come from film, you may have heard of the idea of direct manipulation before. It's also known by 2 other names: hand-painted film or scratch-on film. Now, this is a film called Two Sisters, created by Caroline Leaf. And what she did was she took a strip, or rather a series of film strips that were black, and she took a razor blade or some sort of scratching device and animated on the film itself. And of course, after that, there were some other post-production techniques done, right? So that slowed down there. That was an optical printer technique. Stuff that would be done today in After Effects. But the basic idea with direct manipulation is like what you see here. You take a strip of film and you draw on it, and then you put it in a projector. And this is a technique that is widely, even today, still used as a first filmmaking, especially in animation. It's a first filmmaking exercise. And why? Well, because it requires no computers, it requires no cameras, it really doesn't require any technical experience whatsoever. All you need is a film projector, which are rare these days, and a strip of film and a bunch of Sharpies. So if you've got the film projector, you're pretty much 90% there. This is a technique that I really enjoyed working in, and so I decided a few years back that I was going to try to reconceptualize this technique and make it and convert it into a digital version. Now, of course, nothing can ever replace this style. All right, let's watch a film by Norman McLaren. There really is no way to do this exactly in digital, but my idea was to take the fun bits of hand-painted filmmaking and convert them into something that I could do on a computer and I can work with on After Effects. Now, as many of you know, the way films works is that you have a series of still images on a strip of film, and they run through that projector in a rapid succession so that they create the illusion of movement. There's no actual movement of the elements that you see on screen. The only thing that really moves is the strip of film and the projector. But once they go together, they create the illusion of movement. And within hand-painted filmmaking, there are two different camps, so to speak. There is the camp that, like we saw with Norman McLaren and Caroline Leaf, that they try to recreate the illusion of movement. Now, if we look to a lot of the work that Harry Smith works on, he also works on hand-painted filmmaking techniques. And he's got a foot in two different camps, so to speak. As you can see, some of the stuff you're seeing on the screen here, I apologize for the quality, it's very low quality. But you can see that there is some illusion of movement, but at the same time there is also some complete and utter chaotic abstractions. And if we look at our film strip example over here, we can also see, just like our strip of film, we have some film that looks like it has individual images on it. So this person obviously made this with the idea that it was going to be an illusion of movement, that they're thinking about the frame lines and they're trying to follow them in such a way that the image will hold in our mind's eye while it's on the screen, and it will go together, and that will look like movement. However, this person down here, they said, you know what, I want to create a totally crazy abstraction and see what it looks like in the projector, which is absolutely valid. It's also a fun way of working. And you know what? Occasionally when you do this, you can also find things that come together and almost accidentally animate. As in, you've created this total abstract mess, but there are some idiosyncrasies within the strip that you've created that actually come together and almost look like that they were supposed to go together between frame to frame. And our mind puts together some sort of movement, even though there wasn't an intention of one. Sometimes that happens. And that is also, it's also a really cool thing. It's a really cool artifact of this technique. And here's another film by Stan Brakhage. Again, the quality is fairly poor. It's called Moth. This is a famous film, and it's a film in which you might be able to tell a little bit, but it's not really very obvious. But what Stan Brakhage did was he took a bunch of moth wings and blades of grass and just different foliage and whatnot, and he taped them directly to the film itself. and then he ran it through a projector, and history was made. And the thing that I really love about this technique is that you, of course, have the film, which has one form of rationality, right? This makes sense in one way. But then you also have your strip of film, which makes sense in another way. It's one piece of artwork that can be shown in two radically different ways, right? If we look at our hand-painted film example again, this is almost like just one long painting. And so, this is where the kind of the magic lies for me. This is exciting. This is really interesting. I really like this idea. And even with the Norman McLaren film, you could see a little bit of jitter, even though he was trying to create the illusion of movement. And he does a very good job of it. But there's still just a little bit of chaos. There's still a little bit of jitter. And that's the technique that I felt was missing from anything that I could do on the computer. So that's the end of part 1. The next part, we're going to talk about drawing and creating something like this. A very simple drawing in Photoshop.